Hello, Muslim moms. My name is Natasha. I'm from Natural Answers, and I'm basically a relationships coach. My background is in alternative medicine, and I help couples who are struggling in their life. They might be facing loneliness and emptiness. They might not be able to create a good relationship, and they just might be struggling and miserable. Some of them might decide that they want to break up, and some of them might decide that they want to make it work, but they just don't know how. So I work with these couples and I help them by clearing some of those negative mental patterns or the negative beliefs that might be causing a hindrance in their relationships so that they can now create beautiful relationships, beautiful moments in their lives, be filled with motivation towards success, and then move forward to create new memories for themselves. So that's my background. Today I was given the topic to discuss in regards to the family issues. I'm going to be discussing the different perspectives we have in regards to what is a family system, right? What is a relationship? What is a couple, right? So I'm also going to be discussing what's happening in the world today, which might be creating so many issues for many of us, and how we are affected by the different perspectives. So right now, because this video is geared towards the Muslim moms group, so I'm going to be discussing the different cultural beliefs in regards to the family system, and I'm also going to be discussing what is the Islamic viewpoint of the family system. What has our religion given us that's different from the way that from what we observe in the society around us, and how that can actually help us improve our relationships. So let's go into the background of it a little bit. What do you think is a relationship? So I want you guys to take a moment and just ponder over it. That when I say the word relationship, or when I say the word family system, what are those words that come to your mind? So just take a moment and write down or think about what that means to you. All right. So whenever you're ready, you can pause this video or you can continue it whenever you feel that you have the answer to that. The way I often describe a relationship is I divide it up into two different words: the word relation and the word ship. Relation, just think of it like you are connecting with another person and you're opening your heart to that other person. And that person is opening their heart to you. Now you've created some kind of energy, some kind of connection, right? And it's based on the connection between you and the other person that you're moving forward together in that process we call life, right? And the word ship comes in because now that you have that connection with that other person, you decide to take some time and spend that time for a large portion of your life, or for some important part of your life with that person. So basically what you're doing is the person you're connected to, you are basically jumping on board a ship, and you're steering through the challenges of life together towards a common goal, right? Towards a common cause. And that in essence is what relationships are all about, because it doesn't matter who we're connected with now. So it could be me and my spouse, it could be me and my children, it could be me and my parents, it could even be me and my friends. But all of us, for some portion of our life, we spend that time together, and we spend that time with the people that we value in our life, right? And that's where, if we change the perspective in any way, a lot of us are might be in relationships, but they're not really living in relationships. For example, if you're in a relationship where you and the other person are not communicating at all, where there's no sense of connection, where you are not sharing a common goal, then you're not actually in a relationship as per this definition. Maybe you're in some kind of contract where you're trying to make it work, but it wouldn't be called a relationship. All right. And now when we consider this, the most important element of any relationship is to be clear on what that goal is that you're moving towards. What is the life goal you have together, right? You have now connected with another person and you're steering towards some kind of destination. So, what is that destination, and how are you and them going to help each other to reach that destination? Because when you have that kind of connection, when you have that kind of clarity about your life and the time that you're spending together, now those moments have meaning in them. Now those moments have purpose in them. And it doesn't feel like you're just, browsing through a storm where the winds are taking you in whatever direction that they come. And now you have a sense of a direction as well. So whatever storm comes in your life, now you have a way to go through it, right? So with that, that's when you think about that being the essence of relationship. Now we have to move into, all right, so I have started a relationship with a person and I've started a family with them. Because all of us here are Muslim moms, all of us, most of us at some point have started a family, right? And we became mothers. So, what does it mean to be a part of a family? Now, there's different perspectives of this, right? When we started a family, for example, while living in Canada, we have encountered different cultural values about what a family system is. So, the first one we're going to talk about is the Eastern perspective. So, back home, maybe India or Pakistan, or maybe the Middle East, the Eastern perspective of what is a family system. Because a lot of the time when we're browsing through these groups, we're seeing those issues come up where a lot of us are actually struggling because we have to live in that kind of system, which has those values. So what does the Eastern system value, and what it's all about? Okay, the first thing that you have to understand when you're coming from the Eastern family system is that a lot of the time, in especially the initial parts of the marriage, it is devoid of privacy. It's really hard for a couple to get privacy when they're living in this kind of system, because a lot of the time this system begins in a joint family system, right? So the joint family is all about moving through life as a large family group. Not so you're not just a couple. When you get married, it's like your family and their family are now combining, and your families are now together living in this large system, large family. So a lot of the time, in that system, we value the family over the self, right? Because of that, when we get married, or when we start life in that system, our life is devoid of privacy, because we are now focused on the responsibility of maintaining or being being integrated into this family, right? And we have to understand, okay, what are the values of this family as an organization? Who are the leaders? Like, who are the people that are making the rules? So just think of it like as an organizational structure, right? So an issue that it has goods and it has bads. The good things that come with it is that you're sharing resources. um, it's easier to get through when you have a large group of people supporting you, right? People learn to respect each other. People learn to live amongst a large group of people, so you have more people to interact with. You're now developing a lot of social skills, right? But a lot of us also face problems in that system. So what are the problems we face? The system is all about respecting our elders, but we're not just respecting them, but we're also expected to live up to the standards of the previous generation, which often doesn't understand the values of this generation or the struggles that this generation might be going through. So we're kind of being integrated into the values of that generation. And oftentimes our elders have a lot of expectations, a lot of standards for especially their children, right? And it's not always the case that we can live up to those values. Now, the focus on this kind of family system is on traditions and norms and the thing we call rasumat, right? And the more you understand that, you understand the traditions, what are the values, what are the cultural ways of doing things, the more you're going to get yourself, comfortable and happy within this system, because now you've basically integrated yourself into the cultural norms. Often what happens is the system forces, okay, the women have these responsibilities, the men have these responsibilities. Now, in a joint family system, for example, all the women are working together and they're doing one specific thing. And the men are now another separate group and they're doing another kind of role, right? But what happens is women are often found doing a lot of housework where they're saying, now we're being treated as a housemaid. Whereas now the men also feel that they're not getting the attention of their wives. They're kind of devoid of love. They're devoid of connection with each other as a couple, because now their focus is everyone else, right? When you're in that kind of relationship where you get married, it's really essential that to have that connection with your partner, right? And oftentimes when you focus your energy of love on on one person, then you can actually connect with them. But if your energy is going all over the place, connecting with all kinds of different people, it's really hard. It's really hard to be able to create this kind of connection, right? So oftentimes you're living in this large group of people, but you're still facing a lot of loneliness, a lot of emptiness. And it's not just women, trust me on this one. Like, if you observe the system itself, the men are facing the same loneliness as you. Sometimes what happens is now, when you're living, because of the loneliness or the emptiness that you're going through as a woman, then the next step that happens is now there's a conflict between the authority people and you as somebody who just came into the system, right? Because now the values are not matching. You're not getting your privacy. You're not getting your um, what you consider your rights, right? Basic human rights. But now what happens is now there's a clash, right? Their cultural values are not matching with yours. You're fighting them, they're fighting you. And who is left in the middle of all this? Who is left with trying to carry the whole burden of the whole entire thing is your husband, right? Your husband might be stuck between his parents who raised him up and you, whom he loves so much. And when you come in that conflict, now his being kind of gets split in two, right? Who do I support now? What do I do? Because I love both of them, but I can't support both of them at the same time. What is my responsibility now? And sometimes there's so much pressure that it really can break a person apart, right? And those are the cases that we're seeing sometimes in the forums as well, where the system is just breaking apart and they don't know how to move forward with it. What I would suggest in that kind of scenario is, if you either way, you would have to make a decision, right? Do you think that you can stay within this system and maintain the relationship? Because then you're gonna have to set boundaries for yourself. You're gonna have to separate the time between you and your husband and the time that you're spending in the larger family group. And you want to do that without creating a clash. How do you do that? You show them, okay, I respect these values, these traditions, and all of these things that you're bringing, that you are carrying within the system. I respect it because I'm now part of this organization as a family, and I'm here to support the family. But at the same time, I need this time with my husband and this time with my own family. These are my boundaries, these are my rules, and I don't want anyone else interfering in that matter. This is the time where you build a connection, where you talk about your life goals, about your future plans with your husband, and you build it together. Sometimes building it together means that you start an independent life and move out of this organization in a positive way. And sometimes you feel like, okay, I don't have enough resources, I'm going to stay within this system for this time. And how do you want to move forward with that? Because a lot of the time people might find support in that kind of system as well. Like, for example, if you're starting a business, you have all these people around you that might become your initial customers or your support group, right? If you're going through struggles in your life, or you're just a youth who's just starting out, you need a little bit more support, then this system can become ideal for you. But that's just one of the system. Now we look at the exact opposite, right? The Western perspective of the family system, right? This is a system that values independence, and it values equality of the genders. In this system, there's no consideration of living in a large family. You're living as a couple together from the start. And you're not just living as a couple, you're each your own individual being, and you're each complete in yourself, but you're just deciding to share some of the time together. The issue here starts when the culture actually supports, like, for example, capitalism or a sense of materialism, where then it starts becoming devoid of love or devoid of, you know how we talked about the Eastern system, it values the family as a whole, it values certain norms, like certain traditions and things like that. Now, the Western system actually fights all of this and cancels it out. Okay, I don't want any kind of traditions in my life. I don't want to be considered as part of a larger organization. For me, being part of a family means I'm my own person, they're their own person, and I'm giving them their rights, they're giving me my rights, right? Issue becomes when there's materialism. How does that happen? When we quantify everything, like when everything becomes a money amount or a calculation, then it becomes an issue, right? This system is also based on the whole family being integrated into the larger society, where there are means of production, basically. So what happens is that, yes, you might be living together as a family, but the man is a working person, the woman isn't a working person, for at least 8 hours to 12 hours a day. You are separated. You're going to your own workplace, you might be going to your own workplace, or you might be staying home, but you're entirely independent. You're interacting more with other people, again, at the workplace than you're interacting with your partner. And you're often having to send your children, for example, to daycare, because you have to be one of the agents of production. So you have to produce something for the society. And when you send your child off into their education system or their own daycare, so they're also being integrated into the society that we're living in. So they're learning the societal norms, they're learning about, they're being educated to become the next worker in our society, right? So basically, that's what the whole system is. And how we balance it out is that on the time that the family does come together, you each have your own rights. And if you're not getting your own rights, you have to fight for your rights. And again, there's no sense of dependence. Everyone says, I have to live my own way. I'm not dependent on anyone. I can make anything I want for myself, right? So it's love without dependence. Can you imagine that I am loving someone, but there's no dependence on them, right? Like there's no there's no expectation that they're going to support me in any way. With that, a lot of the time we see that when divorces happen, the more stressful events are not the emotional connection, losing the emotional connection with your partner or spouse. The more stress comes from dividing up your property and managing the finances, or fighting over the custody of the children, because initially there wasn't that kind of connection in the first place, that you're going to now suffer with losing this kind of connection. So again, the system is great because it values independence. It tries to give everybody their rights. It tries to treat everyone as equal, whether you're a woman or you're a man or a child. All of you have your rights and you are treated as equal. If you don't get your rights, just fight for them. But the issue here is that, again, couples are finding themselves in a state of loneliness, in a state of emptiness, in a state where they feel disconnected with their partner. Often we have cases of cheating because partners are spending more time outside in the workplace or making more friends there and interacting with them in a positive way than interacting at home. We are expected that when we go outside and we go in the workplace, we have to smile and we have to be cheerful and we have to take care of the other people. By the time we come home, we're emotionally drained as well. So how do you manage with that, and how do you make a connection? How do you take the time out? A lot of couples decide to take time out by going on a vacation time to time and spending that time spending good quality time whenever they get the chance at home, right? Some of the couples, they learn to work through it together, right? They focus on that element again of relationship, of building boundaries. How much time are you getting as a couple versus how much time are you spending with other friends, co-workers, and other people, right? What are your values that you want to work towards as a couple? So when they start working towards some future goals, they often, like, for example, one goal that everyone thinks about: let's buy a house together, let's buy a bigger house, and let's maybe then we'll have a peaceful life. Let's save up for retirement, let's save up for the kids' education. All of these things are everyday challenges when you're going through the system, right? And again, it has the goods and it has the bads. You as women in this system are more independent. You are more able to produce. You are treated as a person with respect and rights. But at the same time, you as women, or us as women, are losing out on a lot of things as well. So those are the two cultural systems that we are interacting with as we are trying to maintain our relationships in this place, right? Like, we are talking about the Muslim moms of GTA, so that's what that's the two of the cultures that come in clashing in this place, right? Now I'm going to talk about a very different system, all right? And this system kind of puts together the goods of both of the systems that we've discussed, but the philosophy of it is entirely different. How is the philosophy entirely different? Well, the system I'm talking about is the Islamic system, right? The Islamic family structure. What is that based on? Well, first of all, the whole system is dependent on one thing: that you're living your life not for yourself, not for your elders, not for your spouse. You're living your life for God, for Allah, right? And Allah is actually in charge of everything and kind of overlooking everything. So what does this system value? Well, this system values love. This system values devotion. This system values loyalty. Sometimes this system also demands self-sacrifice. for the greater good, for something bigger, right? So in this system, there is not independence, but in this system, you have interdependence. So you have a couple that's living together, and they're sharing the responsibilities. And they're not just sharing the responsibilities, those responsibilities are actually assigned based on their natural abilities. So, for example, a man's responsibility is now to provide the food, the shelter, to be the breadwinner of the family, right? If the man is trying to get married in this system, he has to be able to do something to earn at least the basic expenses, right? And as women, you sometimes expect that you have to, you expect the meher, right? For example, when you're getting married, you expect that your husband is going to try to build some income for you and to give you a home to live in. You're not dependent on other people, and you're not living on the streets. And in that kind of scenario, you will have your husband there and you will depend on them, right? As women, when the children are growing up, and especially in their early years, as women, your responsibility does become to take care of them and to love them, and to give them that upbringing, right? So this system values interdependence in this way, right? And it's assigning us different responsibilities based on their natural abilities. Now, Islamic system does not say that women are not allowed to work, or men have to, afford every single thing. Like, some of us expect our husbands to pay for not just the basic expenses, but pay for our entertainment, pay for our jewelry, pay for our, every month we want to buy something new and we want our husbands to pay for it. Sometimes that builds a lot of stress on them, right? And in the same way, it doesn't say women can't work, or women can't, or men can't take care of the children. It's a system based on love. It's a system based on interdependence, right? Everyone in the family has a very, very unique and respectable position within the family itself, right? So the man is taking more of a leadership role, and the women is sometimes seen that they're providing a supportive role to the man, right? And it's not just that it's based on patriarchy, it's just based on, okay, I'm here with you, I'm your wife and you're my husband, let's support each other. And what are we supporting each other for? For Allah. We're not supporting each other for you're God for me or I'm God for you. No. The whole system is based on this. If you take out that element and you try to maintain this system, it's not going to work, being honest. Because without that element, when you or that side is not trying to please God, you're not going to be able to. It's like saying that, every day I'm doing the dishes, for example, and I don't have a purpose to do them, right? Every day I'm just doing them, and one day I'm going to say, hey, why am I always the one doing the dishes? Because now I don't feel anything, like I don't have a reason to do it. On the other hand, if I'm doing something for God, I'm enjoying every single moment. I might be competing with my husband that, you know what, I'm going to get more thawab than you on by doing these tasks. Nowadays, let me give you an example. Nowadays, this is the month of Ramadan. And when we go to open the fast, or when we are doing Sehri, me and my husband are always rushing that who is the one that grabs that glass of water and gives it to the other partner. Why? Because we're not doing it for each other. We're doing it for Allah, because we can get sawab like that. We can increase our own position. And when you're feeling that essence, you might be doing a lot of things that other people will say, hey, is that something you're compromising on? Is that like a sacrifice? No, hell no. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing here. So like just imagine like in the Western society, like your a girlfriend is going and running to grab a glass of water for her partner. We're gonna be like, yo, do you, are you like a slave or something? Why are you doing this? Or some man like going and doing the same thing. We're like, it's kind of, other people will see it as like, what is this? But when you have a reason or when you have a purpose, uh, everything, the whole definition of it changes, right? So in this, when we discuss this family system, can women go into jobs or can women go into business? Yes, we can. Um, can a man and wife be working on the same job or the same business together as a couple and be sharing the responsibilities? Yes. So it's not like this Western or capitalism system where both of you are now working for another company. Your family system is your own company, right? So you are supporting each other to reach higher levels of success. So what it is that now you have that nuclear family, your your spouse and your children, and they are a single unit, and the other people are other single units, and then you're working together to reach a greater goal, right? So it's a little bit different than the Eastern system where you have your husband, you, and your parents and their brothers and sisters and children of all of them being a single unit, versus the Western system where each individual within the family is a single unit on their own. No, now you have the nuclear family being like a garden, and you're all growing out from that garden as interdependent, but not so you're not entirely dependent and you're not entirely independent. You're working together under the shade of God, right? So when we think about this system, just consider that. Let me share an exercise with you. And I love doing this exercise with my clients because this is the essence of the love that we create within the family system. That just visualize that God is some example of universal, or God has created some universal mercy or universal love, unconditional love, and has spread it throughout the entire universe, right? Be the one on the receiving end of that mercy and be the one that's ready to share it with the world, right? And now just feel that energy, feel what it means to be part of this system. You're not doing things just because you have to. You're doing things because you're sharing God's mercy. You're being an example of what it means to have love in your life from God itself, right? And when you follow this system, there's several examples. When you read the Quran, when you read the hadith, or when you read the stories of prophets, you will find so many examples. But let me share with you a couple of examples that I have seen in my life and what their love meant, and how that motivated or inspired me in my life. So the first example that really inspires me is the example of Lady Khadija, alayhi salam. So we're looking at a period of Jahiliyyah. The whole Arab world was in disaster at that time, right? Um, People were killing their daughters. Things were really bad. The conditions were really bad. Maybe similar to the conditions we have now in our society, where there's war, there's famine, all kinds of things are happening, right? And you have one lady that's managing a business and supporting trade in such an amount that when she got married to the Prophet ﷺ, her wealth supported the initial development of Islam itself. How does that happen? like what system in this world right now values women or respects women in to that extent that she can do that? You have the Eastern system where they're treated as sometimes just housewives or slaves, right? And they're just focused on doing housework. Then you have the Western system where they're just like um, working moms, or being in roles like customer service. And then you have the whole image of women being used for marketing and in the media, not being able to be respected, right? And then you have this example, and this example really, um, it really puts a question mark in your mind that how did that happen? How did she manage all of this in a time like that, right? So that's one example. And what did she do when Lady Khadija alayhi salam got married to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? She actually dedicated her life for Islam, for the Prophet. And what sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and what did they do? They worked together to develop the future of Islam. They worked together to help people out. They worked as a single unit. So now Bibi Khadija was staying at home and managing. She was, we say that she was managing the home, but what she was actually doing is a really greater task. She was supporting the Prophet ﷺ in developing everything. Um, you know, um, she was the first supporter at the time when he had no support. So what examples we see in the hadith, that whenever I used to go home and I saw Bibi Khadija Islam smile, I used to forget all the pains of the day, right? It's not just as women that we can support our husbands. When we're focused, actually, when we're focused and we've made it clear what is our goal in this relationship, right? What is it we are working together towards? When you have a final goal in front of you, then you know that the way to achieve it is to be able to work together. And when you're doing that, that's the essence where you are able to build a strong connection with each other, where you are able to get through tough times together, because you and them are supporting each other towards it. You might be facing so many storms in your life, but you might be giving so many sacrifices, but in your vision, it's the goal in front of you. So in the Urdu language, we sometimes say that इरादे जिनके पुख्ता हों, नज़रें जिनकी खुदा पर हों, तलातम खैर मौजों से घबराया नहीं करते. Means the people who are who are looking directly at God as their vision, and they're moving forward, they're not going to be shaken by the storms and the winds of the world around them, because their vision or their goal is greater than that. So this is one example, right? So when we see a lady like Bibi Khadija alayhi salam, and she's devoted her entire life to a man whom she married, right? The people of this day and age would be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, why are you so dedicated? Like, aren't you worried about your rights, your freedoms, and all of this stuff? And they'll say, no, I am not worried about that, because I'm going to get that anyways. I'm going to get the respect and the care anyways, because I'm the one that's supporting them, the partner in all of this. They realize that I'm supporting them. So no, my goal is greater than this, and your partner is going to say the same thing, the exact same thing, because this is the lady that supported me throughout my life, and I am going to do whatever it takes for her, because she is the one that won my heart, right? So that's one example. Other example, Bibi Fatima salamullah alaiha and Imam Ali alayhi salam. That's a great example for me as well. Interestingly, I was browsing through some of their speeches or some of the words they've said. And I came to a point where I read into the last will that the last words that Lady Fatima sallallahu alaiha said to her husband Imam Ali alayhi salam, and she said, "Ya Ali, um, let God be witness, let Allah be witness. Have I ever in my life disobeyed you or demanded something from you?" And her husband Imam Ali alayhi salam said, "No, by Allah, astaghfirullah. I found you to be more pious, more pure, more dedicated to God than anywhere else, than anyone else." What it means is be so, you can say, be so absorbed in pleasing your God or praying to your God that other people can see your light and feel your light, right? She was described as the flower of heaven, that just, or the flower of purity and elegance, right? These kind of examples rarely we find in the world today around us. These examples of loyalty, of devotion, maybe it's something that we say is like for the past generations, but we don't see it anymore. We don't, because our life is so absorbed in either meeting up to certain standards or in having our rights and freedoms, right, for ourselves. So, but the Islamic system is more than that. The Islamic system gives us something more to think about. You're not just an agent of yourself, you're an agent of humanity. You're a representative of the values that the whole religion has taught from 1400 years ago till now, right? What is the essence of Islam? The essence of Islam is humanity, right? The essence of Islam is worshipping only one God. The essence of Islam is rejecting or declining all other philosophies that that conflict with the ideology of Islam itself. The teachings of our Prophet ﷺ and his family and the Quran and the Sunnah, all of them are based on certain values. They're based on betterment, not only in the spiritual state, so betterment in terms of physical, mental, spiritual. You're just, every day you're just struggling to get to a higher position. So this is where the whole system differs. The Islamic system makes the family a garden where each person that comes out of this garden will flourish, and their base is always going to be that sense of comfort they've received within the garden. The Islamic system places responsibilities on each individual based on their ability. So for example, before a child is born, the mother is given a care, the mother is given responsibility to take care of this future being, right? So you're carrying that child for 9 months. What are you doing in that time? There's guidance. Like a lot of us have done so many du'as for our children when we were expecting. A lot of us have thought about what is it that we want to do in life, right? A lot of us may have sacrificed a lot of things for God's will. But all of us, I would say all of us in this group can find the peace and the tranquility in just submitting ourselves to God's will, right? So this is where all of it changes. The whole definition changes, and this is where changing the definition can benefit us in so many ways in terms of building our relationships, because now we're supporting those values that help us to create connection, that help us to create love, that help us to be open to receiving this universal energy of mercy and love, and to be able to share it with those around us. So now they can share it with us as well. So I hope that this clarified a lot of things for you guys. And I hope that if you again have any questions, any comments, or you want to discuss it further, you want to see if there's any issues that you would like to get resolved, please feel free to reach out to me. And I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Have yourselves a great day and great lives ahead.